Welcome to episode 57 of Imperial Advisor. This evening we have myself, Baz, and we have Justin, and we are going to go through the new Dynasty pack, which is Children of Heaven. Things have been happening, like there have been new stories coming out, and we've had some new announcements, and there's been some events. I'm very excited about the Dragon cards, because we've finally seen some of the Dragon pack spoiled. Was there anything in the last few weeks? I think it's been 3 weeks since our last episode. Anything that kind of struck out for you, Justin?
Not enormously. Like you said, story continuing apace. It was good to see previews from the Dragon pack, because the Dragon are in such a terrible place right now. That, you know, the clan that once we loved to hate is now the clan we love to pity. So even the promise of something new for the Dragon and a few new directions and just an improvement in power for their players is very, very welcome.
Yeah.
And that Phoenix character in the pack as well is so
Really?
bonus. Oh,
Okay,
I love
okay.
yeah, I really like him. But yeah.
All right, we'll have a look at that one in due time. I'm sure.
Yeah, we will.
So we're going to have we've got the rest of the inheritance cycle to get through, and during that, actually I expect it to be in the next week or two. We're expecting the Lion pack, and then
So we can finally hopefully get Marios on, and we can witness the full fury of an unleashed Greek ranting about the state of Lion. That should be awesome.
Yeah, it was very disappointing that they didn't get to release it at Gen Con, because I totally had him on board for that. But yeah, once that comes out, we'll definitely get Marius in, and we'll get some of his insights. All right, but right now we have cards. We have an entire pack, so let's slowly start working our way through. So we're going to start with Fortified Assembly. So this is a crab holding. Crab province. It is an air province. It's got 3 province strength. Cannot be a stronghold province, so it has to be in your main row. It gets +2 strength for each honor token on it. And as a reaction, after an attack is declared against this province, place 1 honor token on it. So in this context, honor tokens, as we've seen it before, are just being used as tokens. They don't affect your total honor or anything like that. They're just markers. So it's going to be 5 province strength the first time it's attacked, and then an extra 2 the next turn, and the turn after that. Obviously, it's reaction, so you're going to trigger it once per turn. So, yeah, what do you think of this one, Justin?
Yeah, this is a really interesting design. So the first defense of this is going to be the really critical one. If you can defend this the first time round, like breaking a 5-strength province, that's tough enough to do, but far from difficult. Breaking a 7-strength province, that requires a serious amount of resources dedicated to it. And if you fail to break at that time, then breaking a 9-strength province, you may as well start to forget about it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of difficult to judge this card in isolation, because we have seen hints from the Crab pack that we have an entire focus on fortifications, the Caillou Wall, etc. coming. So I mean, like, this card on its own is, you know, it's pretty tough to break, but when you start throwing in things like, you know, wandering crab fortifications that give an additional +2, you are potentially looking at really, really incredibly difficult provinces to break.
Yeah.
And the question then is whether that can be turned into I'm not going to say a win condition, because it's obviously not a win condition, but I suppose the next best thing to winning a game is not losing a game, and it could be very, very difficult for military clans to break down crab provinces.
Yep, it's certainly an interesting one. Now, I occasionally, when we're writing up articles, I'll talk about what I look for in a province, and there's 2 things. One, is it going to defend itself? And Fortified Assembly definitely is. It's not going to help you win that conflict, but it will help, stay alive. And because it's not on reveal, it's on an attack, it's going to keep doing that every turn. The second one, though, is this going to have an impact in the game as a whole? And this one isn't. So, it's definitely kind of a niche thing. I do remember when we played in single core, there was Of all things, weirdly, the Crab deck was quite enjoying a Seeker of Earth. So you ended up with like a full row of 5 province strength provinces in the main rank. Yeah, I mean, we moved away from that pretty quickly when we saw there were better ways to go. But this, maybe that's the sort of thing that this could shift towards. It's an extra potential 5 strength province strength.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the thing is that against, for example, a Dishonor clan, this is just eminently farmable. You don't want to break a province, and you're just going to farm this endlessly.
Yeah.
So that is definitely a knock against it. Against a military clan, as I said, if they don't break it the first time, and possibly the second time, then they're really going to have to start looking at other provinces. So it's the kind of province that could force them into attacking something that really is unpleasant and somewhere they don't want to go. Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to know. Like if we hadn't seen the Crab previews, I would have said this was a garbage province and should be ignored.
Yeah.
But with the Crab previews and the emphasis we've seen on, just unbreakable provinces, then maybe it's not that terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, if a military deck gets to a situation where they have to somehow generate like upwards of or close to 20 force to be able, or 20 military to be able to break a province like this, that's awful. Like you're at a certain point they go all in, the Crab player goes no defense, fine, and then just smashes them on the return. So a province like this could deliver a really enormous return at some point in the game in terms of just the resources required by an opponent to try and break it. So I don't know. I'm definitely in the wait and see.
So it is notable as well that this doesn't work with Talisman of the Sun, insofar as if you move someone over to this, you're not going to get that. You're not going to be able to trigger that reaction, so you're not getting that extra 1 honor token. Because otherwise this would have been a fantastic one to kind of replace the final province that you dumped them into, which I think typically is Pilgrimage these days. Obviously not something for now, but we'll have to pay close attention to this once the next pack, once the Crab pack comes out. All right. Yeah. Next one.
It'll deserve another look at least, anyway.
Definitely. Actually, the next one is another air province as well, and 5 province strength again. So obviously the first one was 3 with the extra 2, almost straight away. So this is a little bit more to it. So Emperor's Summons, 5 province strength, Seeker roll only. Reaction: after this province is revealed, search your Dynasty deck for a character card and put it face up into a non-stronghold province you control, discarding each other card in that province. Shuffle. So the first thing here is it is air and Seeker only. So any Seeker deck can play it, but a Seeker air deck is going to benefit from a lot more. I'm tempted to say that this is a great card for the God, what was that? The card, the Phoenix card, or the line card that just rotated out.
Yeah, but the Fashitra deck, Charge Bird.
Yes.
Is that the?
So yeah, that is exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't long ago.
The line card
about it. It was dominating the environment.
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
Absolutely. Anyway, that's so 2 weeks. That's so 2 weeks ago, Baz. Just forget about it.
Okay, point here is this is a great card for charge. You get to go through your deck, pick out a character. You don't necessarily have to put it into this province. So if you're about to lose this province for whatever reason, you can drop it in somewhere else. Or, you can have that character there for another turn. So this is something that you could set up for the next turn. It certainly looks interesting. What do you think, Justin?
Yeah, it's super good. It's a very dangerous card, actually, I would say. Shooter effects in card games, as we know, are incredibly powerful. This probably had to be restricted to Seeker Roll, given that in a deck with Mia Satoshi and Keeper Initiates, a card like this could be very, very strong. So, yeah, I mean, this card is just super good in any deck that desperately wants to see one massively powerful character. Like we've mentioned Charge Bird already. This would obviously have to go into a Seeker of Air version of that card as opposed to the Keeper of Air version, so it's quite a different deck. Obviously the Keeper of Air version is stronger at the moment, but a card like this is the kind of card that could actually tip the balance. especially because once Fashicho, like if you put a Fashicho on the bottom of the deck, through, for God's sake, still can't remember it. But yeah, you can just go summons the Fashicho off the bottom of the deck, shuffle your deck up, and off you go again. Like we've mentioned as already, Satoshi decks as well, so you can use Satoshi to set up an engine. Go get the Emperor if you're an Imperial deck, or if you're a deck that really wants to abuse the Emperor, who is a tremendously powerful character, then go get your one copy of the Emperor.
So we're trying to think of Forebear's Echoes. That's the card we're trying to think.
There we go. God, yeah. Thank God for Google, huh? So yeah, I mean, the other thing as well is that, this does kind of push, this is the kind of card that allows decks to move more toward a toolbox kind of approach, where you can put one or two of a specifically situational character in. This hits, you flip it, you just go get the character that's suitable for the situation that you're in. So yeah, I think this card is for real.
And that toolbox element is a really good point, because I think if you look at the Crane decks especially, that are kind of prevalent these days, they'll play a lot of one-offs, because they're bidding 5, they're drawing tons of cards, they're getting them into hand. So when they're in a position where they need one of those one-offs, there's a good chance that they've drawn it. Whereas on the Dynasty side, I mean, often you're trying to flush your provinces as best you can, but there's only so many cards you're going to see. You're only seeing 4 cards a turn, so you're kind of limited. So a lot of the time, you kind of find a scenario where you want to have a character, but he was there the turn before, or he's going to be in 3 turns, and you can't hold on to it like you can with conflict cards. But yeah, this Emperor summons, I mean, it means you can go through and get your Mia Mystic if you've got an attachment problem in play. You can go get your Fashicho for your charge if you're playing that kind of deck. Or whatever is going to put you in a situation to deal with what's on the board next turn, whatever character is strong against what you're playing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Scorpion players can go get Fawning Diplomat to guarantee favor control. Get the new Shoju if they want to basically shut an opponent out from ever having the favor. Like, there are a lot of super powerful implications that this card has. So yeah, I think this card is genuinely for real.
Disguise characters. You can go fetch your disguise characters, put them down, and all of a sudden you're able to overlay them and straighten a character. So that's something you can do straight away. This is a very, very cool card. And I mean, Air is a pretty good slot, but I think this feels competitive in it. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Like it's for quite a specific kind of deck. Obviously, it doesn't have the generic usefulness that something like Manicured Gardens does. But yeah, like I've said, tutors in any game are super, super powerful, and 5 rings is no different. Tutoring effects are just strong. So
and for that Forebear's deck, it does generate the shuffling effect, which is quite cool as well.
Yeah. I mean, the downside for the Forebear's deck is that it is a Seeker roll when you would prefer Keeper, just for the way that deck is set up currently. But, the fact that this card on its own would make you raise an eyebrow and think, actually, is Seeker Rare maybe better for the deck now? That's, I think that speaks to its power, or its potential power.
Cool. Well, nice to see new provinces push their way in. All right, let's see what we have next. So next up is a Crab character. This is a Student of Anatomies. It is a 2-cost character with 1 military, 2 politics, and 0 glory. It is a Shigenja Earth. Action, sacrifice a friendly character, choose a character. Until the end of the phase, treat that character as if its printed text box were blank, except for traits. So this is almost a Cloud the Mind, but obviously it's just for the phase rather than permanently. And the trigger is sacrificing a friendly character. That's not terribly bad. As Crab have shown, depending on your timing of it, especially if you're able to do it after the first conflict and you've got bowed out characters with 0 fate on them, that's not much of a cost. But this ability feels like it's something that you want to do early, that you want to do straight away, in which case sacrificing a character is a pretty big deal. What do you think about it, Justin?
I think the card's amazing. It's an incredibly powerful effect, and the thing is, like, you're always in control of it. If your read on the situation in the game is that you desperately need to effectively to blank a character, then you can just sack a character to do that. Like, if it's situationally the best play that you can make, you can just make it. If not, you can hold off and attempt to kind of wring a bit more resource value out of it. But really, this card is just superb. It's incredible. Like, genuinely one of the best Shigenjas in the game. And I would imagine it will be a staple in all Crab decks going forward, not just Sacrifice decks, because the ability is just that good.
Okay. Oh, wow, that's high praise.
Well, I mean, no, but like, seriously though, Toshimoko, it's in the conflict phase. I'm just going to blank your Toshimoko now. No saving that stronghold province for you this turn. There are so many applications, and it's for the phase, not even for the conflict. Like, if it had been for the conflict, that probably actually would have been a much fairer card. But this is just amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a 5-star card. Absolutely 5-star card.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the ability is the best ability that your opponent has blanked, but at the cost of having to sacrifice one of your own characters. Now, if Crab do have a few effects that they can help trigger when they do sacrifice a character, and I think that's something that I think there was some other examples of it in this cycle that were being kind of encouraged for them to sacrifice. I know Owen for a while experimented with the Yasuki decks where he was going heavy into sacrifice. But I think you're right. Yeah, this is probably a card that can just slot into one of the existing decks. Because even though took off for a 1/2 is fine, the ability certainly solves problems.
Yeah, it's an incredible card. So, congratulations, Crab.
All right, let's see what we have next. This is Graceful Guardian. So this is a Creme character. It is a 1 fate, 2 military, 0 politics, 1 glory bushi. Action: during a conflict in which this character is participating, during each player's next action opportunity in this conflict, increase the cost to play cards by 1. So talk me through this.
This is an interesting card. Okay, so obviously it's a 2/0 for 1 fate, so that on its own is already pretty strong. It's, pretty reasonable stats for a 1-coster. The ability, okay, it's Bushi, so, there are some cards that will interact with that. But the ability is, it's a super situational ability. It's not something you're going to use in every conflict or you're going to use every time the card comes out. But if you're ahead in a conflict, it makes your opponent's capacity to react that little bit more painful. So it allows you to put a squeeze on them. The flip side is that if you want to react, then you have to feel the pain as well. So you're looking at a deck, I suppose, which is engaged in some kind of conflict, or some kind of resource war or resource struggle. The downside is that Crane aren't particularly good at controlling or punishing opponents' fate. So, although I suppose particularly increase the cost to play cards by 1, that could be honor as well. So if they were going to assassinate someone, I think it would now cost them 4 instead of 3. So. I think it would just be. I think just fate.
I think it's just fate. Yeah. I think other templating refers to numerals and stuff like that.
Okay, fair enough. But even so, yeah.
I mean, so if you have another Graceful Guardian on the table, so you've got 2 of them somehow, that your first action will be the Graceful Guardian, then they have an opportunity in which their cost is increased by 1, then you can trigger your Graceful Guardian. So you're not playing a card from hand, right? Mm-hmm. So it's an action in play, and that's not going to cost you the extra 1, and then it's back to them. So I think, if you've got actions that you can take which aren't going to be affected by the Graceful Guardian, especially if you can see on their board they don't have anything, this could be solid.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's a situational card. It's not a card that is just out and out powerful. Like, it's not a Brash Samurai, which is just a great card in basically all situations. This one is, just is a bit more context sensitive. But yeah,
it's half the price of that Brash Samurai.
Yeah, half the price, and probably about a third as good. But that said, I mean, it's like if you're building a Crane Bushi deck, and you're building a Crane deck that relies on attachment to do a lot of its business, then yeah, like this card could be a filler. It could be a worthy filler card.
It's an interesting slot. Like the pricing is
Yeah.
very aggressive. The ability is decent. But yeah, it's like I'm seeing the 2-costers. You've got Brash Samurai, you've got Cautious Scout, and then Daidoji Narishima. So that's kind of what you're looking at. And like they're similar. This is similar to those 2 costs, which I guess does make it competitive. But this would definitely be the weakest if they were all 2 costs easily.
Easily.
Yeah. But for one less,
So,
I'm not sure if Crane will necessarily play this, but it seems like a solid card.
Yeah, it's a 1-cost filler card. Like it's not amazing, but it's a 1-cost character that will fill a slot if you need a 1-cost slot filled. Yeah, and to be honest, like Crane don't have a lot of good 1-cost characters. Most of them are pretty crap. So.
Yeah, so they just have the Whisperer and the Artisan right now.
And the Callow Delegate is the other one as well.
Of course, yeah.
Oh no, and the what's-her-face? The girl that reduces the amount of cards that players draw. I've forgotten her name.
It's an Ishikin soloist. Ishikin soloist?
Yeah, so I mean they're all
no, that's
like
one. That's not a card draw one.
But anyway,
and they have the Inasaka Pupil. Okay, they've been getting a lot of 1-costs that I haven't been paying attention to.
They've been getting more 1-costs, but again, they haven't really had a militarily oriented one.
Yeah.
So this slots in there. But yeah, decent. It's a decent filler card, like I said, at the 1-cost slot.
Okay.
So
let's move on. All right, this is a different tack. So this is the Iron Crane Legion. This is a Crane card with Crane character with 4 cost, X military, 3 politics, and 2 glory. This is a Bushi and army, no attachments except weapon. So that scheme we've been seeing appear, although normally it's on 5 cost rather than 4 cost. During conflicts in which you are the attacking or defending player, X is equal to the number of cards in your opponent's hand. Otherwise, X is 0. So this could be big. I mean, a lot of the meta is still playing that draw 5, draw 5, draw 5. And big hands are everywhere. This could easily be 8 to 10 military on the attack or defense. That's pretty amazing. I mean, all right, so you're playing against Crane. They bring this into play. Do you immediately slam back down to 1 cost? Or to 1 bids?
To 1 bids? I think the ship has probably already sailed by then. It's kind of I'm just trying to think about this. I mean, what's the break point at which this is good? And I think the break point is probably 6 cards in hand. I think at 5 cards in hand, like a 5/3 for 4 with no attachments feels kind of eh. Even a 6/3 doesn't feel amazing.
No, yeah, because I mean, I'm thinking about, like, I always refer back to the Dragon Troll. Who ends up being a 5-cost 3/3. No, a 3-cost 5/5. Yeah,
5/5. And
which
just isn't good enough.
Yeah, and largely it's because it's got no ability. So I mean, it puts skill on the board, but it doesn't actually have impact after that. And in theory, the Iron Crane Legion is similar. So it's 4 cost. You know, if you're getting 6 or 7 military out of it, that's pretty amazing. But what has it done for us recently? You know, what else can it do? You can't cloud it. You can drop more weapons on it. You can't put any of your own attachments on it. I'm not sure how relevant that's necessarily going to be, but I know, you know, if I was a Crane player, I'd want to be able to drop duelist training and duel with this.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, it's the kind of card that might be great coming out at the start of turn 3 when your opponent's already drawn 5 cards twice and not a lot has happened in the first couple of turns, and you play a character that's, you play this guy and he's about 12 military skill. That's potentially kind of scary. But
Yeah.
again, you're starting to look for situations, particular situations where this thing has happened and that thing has happened, and yeah, I don't know. It's I think it's a card that looks way more scary on paper than it is going to be in reality. Because yeah, like as we've seen before, I mean, flat skill does matter in the game, but yeah, I don't know. I'm for 4 cost, and when you think of the other 4 cost characters that Crane can play, this is really quite underwhelming compared to the Toshimokos of the world and the Guests of Honor, and you've got the 0/0 guy. Man, we're terrible. I'm terrible with names. The 0/0 guy who just stops people attacking or defending. So yeah, I think this is fine, but I don't think fine really cuts it anymore.
If you're a Crane player and you've got 2 of these in play, what kind of cards do you want that will draw your opponent more cards? Because every card your opponent draws will give you an extra 2 military skill because you're spreading across the 2 guys. I mean, are there ways to abuse this?
Oracle of Snow, that's draw 2, discard 2. I don't know. There might be. I'm not sure this is the kind of...
does this make Perfect Gift playable? Just keep giving your opponent more cards.
No. we've gone through this before. You don't play bad cards to support other bad cards. And not that this is necessarily a bad card, but yeah, I think it looks way scarier than it actually is in practice. And just will not do enough in most games in which it appears.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting grey area, especially because the meta is still drawing high, so it could be massive skill. And if it does that, it's maybe in a Yoritomo, on a good day kind of scenario. But yeah, right now we need cards that have abilities that do fantastic things. And yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I think this is something I'll put into my Crane deck to try out and see if it can work for me. I won't be necessarily upset if it doesn't work. Yeah, I guess that's a good place for a card to be.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. This is Togashi Yoshi. This is a card that will be going into my deck just because it's Dragon. So it's a 1 cost, 1 military, 1 political, 1 glory, monk tattooed. Because it's a named character, it's obviously unique. Reaction: after this character wins a conflict, gain 1 fate from an unclaimed ring. So you presumably turn 2, you make Togashi Yoshi, and maybe you attack or maybe you defend. Hopefully you win that conflict, and then you manage to snatch 1 fate from a ring somewhere. Or maybe you make Togashi Yoshi and you make Togashi Initiate, and you spend 1 fate to honor up Togashi Initiate. That helps you win the conflict, and then you snatch it back at the end of the conflict. Those are cool. Those are kind of fun things. What do you think of it, Justin?
Yeah, I kind of like it. Again, it's a bit of a support card. It's been something of a theme so far, but it's a 1/1 for 1. Those are already good. They're fine, perfectly serviceable character, and yeah, as you said, like Dragon have an awful lot of effects that pay fate onto unclaimed rings, like I think the Kitsuki Investigator, doesn't he pay? He pays fate onto rings. Yep. So yeah, this guy just basically allows you to take that fate back, assuming you win, which you should do, I guess.
Hopefully will.
Yeah.
So one thing I don't like about Togashi Yoshi is I don't like cheap unique characters. I like my uniques to be big characters, so when you get to dupe them, you're getting a good return on it. With the 1 cost characters, like if this was non-unique and you saw 3 Togashi Yoshi turn 1, you could make 3 of them. That'd be awesome. Whereas with with a unique character, you're like, well, I get to make my 1/1 for 1 and then overlay twice to get an extra 2-face. It's just not. It's not as good.
Doesn't feel great. No, I agree. I don't know. Maybe he's a 2 of in a deck then, rather than a 3 of. So, and he is kind of supporty anyway. So maybe that's a good number. But I think he's fine. He's fine. He's another kind of nice support level kind of 1-cost character.
Yeah.
Which is probably where those guys should be, to be honest. They shouldn't be super powerful in and of themselves. So yeah, but I like him. I like the design. I like the fact that he builds on existing dragon mechanics, and yeah, just gives the option. Like you don't have to play him if you don't want to, but any kind of economic boost is always welcome. Yeah, so
all right,
I like him.
Next one we have is another dragon character. This is just called Truth Seeker. This is 2 faith, 1 military, 3 politics, and 1 glory. This is a courtier and has reaction after this character enters play. Choose a deck, look at the top 3 cards of that deck, and put them back in any order. Now, I have to admit, I really like this card. The stats, 3 political for a 2-cost character is good. Like 1/3 for 2 is great, actually.
Great stats.
You're not expecting a 2/1 or a 1/2, so seeing 3 on that is great. The courtier trait, I have to admit, isn't something that I would have said I was looking for a cycle before. But at this stage, in the inheritance cycle, Dragon have been getting a lot of courtiers, and at this stage there's an entire courtier deck, so we're going in new uncharted directions. The ability, obviously it's only once off, so it's reaction to when a character enters play, so you're not going to be reusing it. The impact is relatively low. You look at the top 3 cards and then put them back in any order. You can do that to your dynasty, your opponent's dynasty, your conflict, or your opponent's conflict. But typically I think you're going to be doing it for your own conflict deck, and it's only really going to be of any effect when you're doing it with a bid 1 style. Because I think if you're bidding 5, who cares if they're sorted.
Yeah.
There might be some other scenarios where getting to know what the top card of your dynasty deck is, or placing the right card onto the right province or something weird like that. But I think typically you're going to be playing the Truth Seeker in a bid 1 deck, where you're trying to dishonor your opponent with courier cards and being able to pick out which card you're drawing in your draw phase is going to be pretty big. Do you have any further thoughts on that?
No, but the bid 1 strategy would certainly seem to fit with the direction of the Kitsuki stronghold in that it's just easier to make everything work and control the game if your opponent has fewer cards in hand. So yeah, it's kind of like a soft synergy, but we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, like 1/3 cost for 2 is super good, and yeah, again, in the right deck, the ability is perfectly serviceable. So very decent card.
All right, next up we have a lion character. This is a unique. It is a Como Kiyono. It is 2 cost, 1 military, 2 politics, 3 glory. She is a courtier and storyteller, and her ability is interrupt when a glory count would begin. If you're more honorable than an opponent, ready this character.
Wow, she is miscontrol the Imperial favor, isn't she? So, yeah. So you have to be more honorable than an opponent, which is a restriction that we see on an awful lot of lion cards, which again is kind of forcing them into a bid low strategy to make sure that they have that honor lead. But that said, I mean, obviously 1/2 for 2, perfectly average stats in that regard. 3 glory is significant though. If you can honor her up, she becomes an absolute monster for her cost. And yeah, once the glory count for the Imperial favor starts, then she's going to ready and then contribute her 3 glory, her 3 now standing glory, to that count for the control of the Imperial favor. So she is going to go a long way toward guaranteeing honorable lion players control of the favor. So
So that's obviously the kind of main goal and is exactly how the line should play it. But there are a couple of ways to trigger glory counts outside of that.
There are, yeah.
Like I'm not sure if it's going to be relevant, but it's worth noting. So I think there's a Phoenix conflict card. Something about
Yeah, there is that returning rings. So you start. It's the it's the void. It's a void spell that initiates a glory count, and whoever loses the glory count has to put all their rings back into the unclaimed ring pool. So you could use that. You could use that in the middle of the conflict phase or something like that to ready her.
It's severed from the stream, so it's a 1-cost
That's
spell.
it. Yeah.
Action, perform a glory count, and then, as you say, the loser returns all the rings. So I mean, obviously, that would make her. With her, it would be a lot more reliable because obviously you've got your unbowed 3 glory. And then I guess for your last attack, you can then attack with her and pick whichever ring you want or something weird.
No. You would just not play severed from the stream and play good cards in your deck instead, and just use your take the favor.
Okay.
Which seems like a much stronger use of that ability. So she's just cheap and goes a long way toward getting you the favor.
So
that's good.
Scorpion play favored niece. Fawning Diplomat. Fawning
Diplomat.
Specifically to get the favor. And that allows them to reliably use Censure. Is a Como Kayono like that? A card that you just put in maybe 2 copies into your line deck, and then you can, put in 2 copies of Censure and then reliably play those Censures from there on out?
Reliably? I would certainly say you can more reliably play your Censures if that's the case. I mean, nothing's 100% reliable, but yeah, I mean, like Censure is super powerful. Yeah, I would.
Are those 4 cards that you would slot in every line deck, or is that maybe stretching things a little bit much?
Not every line deck. Like there are certain out and out aggressive line decks are not going to have a lot of time for a 2/1 courtier with fiddle faddle abilities that will require you to be more honorable. But
it's the more honorable. My God, why?
Yeah.
Why
I mean that is because it would be ridiculously strong if it didn't. Like silly strong.
Would it be silly strong though?
Yeah, I feel like it would. I mean, the thing is, if you can guarantee having the favor, pretty much.
Well, that's what the Scorpion have.
Yeah, but that character costs 3, not 2. And admittedly is a 1/3, but a 1/2 for 2 is a 1/3 for 3 is fine. A 1/2. Yeah, I mean, Scorpion have it. Scorpion have an in-clan cancel already in the form of Forged Edict, so Censure is less important for them.
That's true.
Whereas being able to guarantee Censure for a deck that doesn't have an in-clan counter, that's much more powerful, comparatively. So, I think she's very, very good. I like her a lot. I think it's a really nice design. It's a powerful effect, and for things like the upcoming Akoma deck, who already start on 12 honor, so they're going to be honorable a lot of the time. Yeah, that will help. So I think she's got a role to play, absolutely, in line decks going forward. So I like her.
Awesome. Cool. All right, next up, we have Phoenix, Righteous Delegate. So this is a 3-cost character. It's 2 military, 3 politics, 2 glory, and courtier. Action: during a conflict in which this character is participating, until the end of the conflict, each participating non-Bushi character gets +1/+1, and each participating Bushi character gets -1/-1. This looks pretty good. Not a Shigenja.
Yeah, not a Shigenja. Is a courtier, so is probably intended for the Marisado deck. The ability is just not powerful enough to see play in Kyuunasawa. But in a deck which is more kind of control oriented and more defensively oriented, it possibly has a place. I don't know. I would have to sit down and take a look at the lineups, the character lineup for that kind of deck for Phoenix, to see whether or not the delegate has a slot. I suppose the majority of clans are running a majority of Bushi.
So yeah, that's one of the big things.
So
Obviously it's going to give you bonuses because presumably you're going to be, leave out all your Bushi. You're just going to focus on having your courtiers and your Shigenja in the deck, I guess.
Although actually, no, I take it back.
But yeah,
on her own, she's a 3-cost 3/4. That actually automatically makes her pretty amazing. Yeah, no, I take it back. Sorry, I somehow read it as each other participating non-Bushi character, and that's not the case. No, actually, as a 3-cost 3/4, she's actually pretty fantastic. And yeah, if you're playing in a deck full of courtiers and Shigenja, obviously she's going to be boosting all your dudes, so that's great. And yeah, no, I completely take it back. She's very, very good.
The effect isn't necessarily going to work against your opponent reliably.
No.
Like currently, if you're looking at the Crane decks, they play a lot of Bushi, similar with Lion, to a certain extent, Unicorn as well. But then you're going up against Dragon, they're probably going to be playing a lot of Monks, maybe Courtiers these days. Looking at Scorpion, they're going to be playing Courtiers. You can't always rely on getting your opponents having Bushi for your -1s. Is there a danger that we're going to keep looking at these Phoenix characters and we're going to keep going, well, it's not a Shigenja, let's just put it aside and not worry about it, until eventually we suddenly look at all of the non-Shigenja characters that the Phoenix have been getting and we go, holy god, what have we done? There's a monster deck there.
Well, there certainly is. Like the Phoenix Phoenix Bushi are by and large crap. They're just they're terrible almost across the board. With a couple of there are some notable exceptions. But Phoenix have some really strong courtiers, really strong courtiers. And I mean, a card like this, again, this is the kind of card that makes the Emperor's Summons that we saw earlier. This is the kind of card that a card like Emperor's Summons is built for. Like in certain matchups, the Righteous Delegate is going to be a neutral or bad card for you to play because it's going to benefit your opponent just as much as you. In certain matchups, she's going to absolutely ruin people.
And this is a non-unique, so you can have two in play.
Yeah, potentially. So, yeah, but there are Phoenix do have some seriously good courtiers, and that deck is definitely sneaking up. That deck is coming up. I suppose it's just that the Cute Nasawa deck has been so powerful for so long that it's easy to forget that Phoenix do have other characters.
Yeah.
But
and not all of the spells require Shigenja either. A lot of them do.
No.
But you can actually play a lot of those spells in Kyuden Asawa in a deck that's courtiers. I'm just thinking back, Asawa Atsuko is the first card that comes to mind on this. It's very, very similar. So it has to be a void conflict, which isn't required here. Each of your characters get +1/+1, and each of your opposing characters get -1/-1. So you don't have the non-Bushi Bushi side of things. But she's a 4-cost unique that is played because she can certainly win games. Whereas this is a 3-cost non-unique that is very similar in a certain amount of matchups.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. She's similar in a certain amount of matchups. If she was, what makes Atsuko so good is the fact that she is a guaranteed effect. All you have to do is basically attack your opponent's stronghold as the first player. Just name the Void Ring and go in, and she's such a huge force swing at a critical juncture in the game. Whereas you're not guaranteed that effect with the Righteous Delegate. I mean, she'll buff your side almost guaranteed because I can't see you playing any Bushi in a deck in which she features. But she may just do exactly the same for your opponent, and that is, we've talked before about symmetrical cards and how bad symmetrical cards generally are.
Yeah.
And why you don't want to play them. But I mean, that's the kind of thing that kind of inconsistency, or the fact that a card slot, because we also know just how valuable and how difficult card slots are to justify in 5 rings. You really have to work very, very hard on maximizing value and utility from every slot you have. And there are going to be situations where the Righteous Delegate is simply not going to deliver on the card slot that you invest in her. And that's the reason that she would kind of get knocked down a peg below Atsuko, in my view. But she's still very, very interesting and potentially very, very powerful.
So the current style deck that is top for Phoenix, and now obviously they've moved away from Forebear because they don't have the role for legal anymore. So I think people call it the
at least until November
for a little bit. People seem to call it the generic good stuff deck, where they're just playing all the busted stuff that they can.
Yeah.
Now, Brad Eamon won Gen Con with the Forebears deck. He had Kaito Nobukai in his deck. It was a 3-cost 2/2 courtier, and their ability is basically to explode and send everyone home.
So bow everything.
Yeah, so that's a key one for possibly a particular matchup. I think it was why it was in there. And obviously, you're looking at Forebears and you're looking at charges, so there's kind of more context to it. With the Righteous Delegate, in that good stuff deck, would you consider playing 2? Because you're playing all Shigenja anyway, so the bonus will apply. And it might be something that, just wrecks, say, Lion and Unicorn and potentially Crab, Crane.
It's a possibility.
It's a reach, I guess.
Yeah, she's not bringing a huge amount of, in an ideal world where we were playing decks with 50 or 60 card slots, I think she would absolutely make it in. It's just, I think that, as is the case with an awful lot of clans these days, there are just so many characters ahead of her in the queue that it's just very, very hard to justify a character like this. But that said, in the Isawa Marusedo deck, which is very much the kind of the courtier and glory, honor dishonor oriented deck, she could very much have a place in that, because Phoenix don't have a huge amount of. Well, yeah, she could possibly make it in there, but I'm not sure.
All right.
Because I haven't looked at that deck in depth enough.
Yeah.
But she's definitely not terrible.
So she's not a Shigenja. I think if she was a Shigenja, we would be raving about this character.
Yeah, because the deck is there, and she would have obvious utility.
Exactly. Yeah. And as a courtier, she has a place in a Phoenix deck, even though if we're not yet sure that deck is currently good to go. And, if she's the 51st or 52nd card in the good stuff deck, I think that's probably a really good place for a card to be designed and a card to be kind of brought in. That's it feels good, feels strong, even if it doesn't necessarily immediately go into the top winning deck.
Yeah, I mean, the courtier deck has been very much in the shade of Cute Nasawa for a long time, but the pieces are absolutely coming together for that deck more and more. I know we always say this, but they are. And again, the Asako in the Dragon pack, he's another very powerful piece for a deck like that. So yeah.
So yeah, in a season or two, I'm not going to be surprised if this character ends up in a tournament-winning deck, and I'm not going to be particularly shocked if that courtier deck suddenly gets going. So yeah, I like the Righteous Delegate a lot. Let's see what we have next.
Yeah, I do like the card. I like the way it's designed. It's not too powerful. It's not crap. It's it's in a Goldilocks zone of sorts. So.
All right. So next up we have Starry Heaven's Sanctuary. I'll read it out and I'll let you talk about it.
Oh, actually, hang on. Just one thing. We do also have the Unicorn Swarm archetype coming, and she absolutely annihilates that. So that's
worth keeping in mind.
Worth keeping in mind.
All right. So this is Starry Heaven's Sanctuary. It is a Phoenix holding. It is unique. It's got +1 Province Strength, Temple Void, limit 1 per deck. Reaction: after Fate is removed from characters in the Fate phase, if 4 or more Fate was removed, gain 2 Fate. This looks good.
Yeah, it does. So, 4 Fate. So if 4 Fate's a tricky number. It's not, obviously in the early game this is not going to be good, but in the mid to late game this is generating quite a bit of Fate. This is a card I very much would have to play before I think I could figure out whether it's genuinely good or not.
Yeah, so I think it kind of depends on what you're facing against. Like, typically, you're going to make, or the average deck is going to make 2 characters per turn. Like, that's a typical play. There are decks that go different directions, and there are turns where you can go different directions. Like, towering decks certainly will be happy to make 1 big character and then immediately pass to retain the fate. Swarm decks, like we're talking about with Unicorn, you can see 4 or 5 characters coming to play every turn. And because...
With no fate.
Oh, that's a good point. That is a good point. So...
I mean, one of the one of the things about the deck is that it could potentially impact how your opponent buys. If this is on the board, then if this is on the board and you have a couple of characters with fate on them, your opponent is not going to want to buy 2 characters with fate.
Yeah.
Because if they don't get to break this, then you're just gaining 2 fate at the end of the turn. Again, I'm not sure that's enough to really justify the card, including the card. But yeah, I would still have to play it.
But like, if you're making 1 or 2 characters a turn, and so is your opponent, you're going to see 4 fate leave pretty regularly after turn 2, because you're going to have that overlap naturally happening. Typically, you're putting 2 fate on at least 1 character, so I wouldn't be surprised to see this a lot. But that's fate you're getting at the end of the fate phase, essentially. Yeah. And we're probably not going to see this trigger turn 1, so you're looking at turn 3 before you actually get to spend any of that fate. Is that enough of an impact? So, and a lot of games are over by turn 4.
It's certainly a big knock against the card, I would have to say. It's a very big knock against the card. I don't know, like, it's the kind of card that if the environment were to swing toward a much more kind of control-y, slow-paced environment, this card becomes much, much stronger. Much better. But if not, and if the game continues to speed up and we see many more aggressive archetypes coming out, then the card becomes much harder to justify.
That said, 5 Fires is a card that Phoenix are currently playing with much joy. Will that make a difference?
I don't know, because if you want 5 Fires, if you want 5... You see, I don't think that really works nearly as well as
So when this is after fate is removed from characters in the fate phase, does it just mean that one particular step? Is there more...
I'm pretty sure it will be that
so it has to be natural.
Particular step.
It has to be natural.
Or either that, or you would have to remove 4 fate at one go with a consumed by 5 fires during the fate phase.
And I think that action step is probably later in the phase as well. So that's.
I think it's at the start actually, but I can't remember. Anyway,
sorry, the action step. Do you get to take actions before fate is removed? You must.
Oh, possibly. I'd need to.
Yeah, let me take a quick second just to confirm that, because we'll have a timing chart here.
Call up the rules.
Presumably, there's no John yelling at us in chat right now.
No. No, we've got
right, fate phase.
Oh no, John isn't roaring at us. He just says no. I'm not sure what that's in reference to.
Yeah, so
the roaring or whether this works.
Yeah, no. So 4.2 is characters. Discard characters with no fate. 4.3, remove fate from characters. 4.4, place fate unclaimed rings. And then there's an action window between 4.4 and 4.5. Right. So
okay, so consumed isn't going to work in that respect unless your opponent has a shit on characters.
Okay, all right. So it's an interesting card. Getting more fate is always great. It is a very limited resource, and it is a very powerful resource. But yeah, you're probably not going to get much out of it until later in the game. And when it's in play, your opponent has an opportunity to kind of control how that's going to happen. They can choose to spend less fate or invest less fate in characters to make sure that less fate gets removed. Although that by itself can be risky because that kind of opens up a turn where they end up with very few characters. I think it's worth testing.
It's worth testing. I'd be surprised if it's good enough, to be honest, but super flavorful.
Yes, yeah, very much so. All right, let's move on. Emissary of Lies. So this is a Scorpion character We're still in the dynasty. It is 3 fate, 2 military, 3 political, 1 glory. It is a courtier. Action: during a conflict in which this character is participating, choose participating character controlled by your opponent. Your opponent guesses the name of a card. You may reveal your hand. If you do, the named card is not in your hand, move the chosen character home. So this is send home, where you have to show your opponent your hand. That sounds terrible.
Bid one strategy, where your hand is so tiny anyway that it's not going to have that much of an impact, regardless of how much your opponent knows.
But they're going to name backhanded compliments, and you're going to be like, yeah, okay. show you 3.
Potentially, yeah. Yeah, I suppose backhanded compliment is the fly in the ointment here.
Because that's going to lock in your hand until the killer blow. Yeah.
Yeah. So, although, yeah.
I mean, a 3 cost 2/3 courtier isn't terrible for.
No, not terrible. So, and it is attacking or defending, so there is that.
So it just moves the character home, so it doesn't bow them.
No, that would be too powerful.
So you can attack with the Emissary of Lies. You can ask them to name a card. They presume they name backhanded compliment. You're like, aha, no backhanded compliment. So it's never going to work ever again. So you got to get one use, and then they're going to know what's in your hand from there on out. But that means, yeah, my point on that one was you're attacking, you send home their last defender, and all of a sudden you're getting your 1 point unopposed. You're maybe triggering an air ring. That could be good.
Well, but the thing is, take a look at the situation. So you have a backhanded compliment in hand. You attack with an Emissary of Lies. You play the backhanded compliment. So you attack with an Emissary. They defend with 1 character, probably, because they don't want to overcommit. So you play the backhanded compliment, and they draw a card and lose an honor. And then you activate the Emissary of Lies, and you send their guy home, and then they lose another honor for unopposed, and then you win the air ring and take another honor off them. So
yeah, that's true.
That's a 3 honor swing. It's not terrible.
Pretty interesting. Okay, so there are situations where the ability is strong.
It's a word that's come up an awful lot when we've been reviewing this pack, isn't it?
Situationally.
Situations, yeah. So the question is, does this guy force his way into the current Scorpion lineup? And I'm not as convinced. I'm sure John has opinions on this. Help us, John! We're not entirely sure how to judge this card.
He's actually 3 cost, which for most clans is fine, because you're like, woohoo, out of assassination range. But for Scorpion is ironically bad, because they're like, oh, he's out of assassination range.
Well, as Scorpion, I don't think you care.
No, you do. You want them to play assassination.
Yeah, but no one plays assassination against Scorpion. Anyway, John says that he's genuinely terrible. The scenario doesn't happen because you don't randomly backhand a compliment. Fair, I guess.
All right.
So we have it from like our dyed in the wool Scorpion. So yeah, Emissary of Lies, terrible.
All right, moving on. Speaking of terrible, License Quarter. This is a Scorpion holding. It is +2 province strength. It is a city. Reaction: after you win a conflict, your opponent discards the top card of his or her conflict deck, unlimited. Okay, so you reveal your hand, you send them home, and then you also get to discard a card. Woo! From the top of their deck. Top of their conflict deck.
Yeah, I don't know why they keep persisting with this theme. It's not fun. It's not interactive in any way. Why don't you just put cards in your deck that help you win, as opposed to cards that make them discard cards for an effect that still may not help you win because you have been crushed because your card is full of decks that do nothing but make them discard cards. I don't know. I don't know why they keep persisting with this.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something busted and broken that they can do later on, and I'm sure that will be a thrill for everybody involved. But no, this is garbage.
So yeah.
Super pretty though.
It's very, very pretty. I like it a lot. And it's unlimited, and you can have multiple copies in play, so you could be discarding, like 12 cards in a single turn. Woo! But even then, if you do that, all that's going to happen is you're going to lose 5 honor. So,
Yeah, but I mean, but the thing is, like, I mean, plus if you're a Dishonor deck, then you are forcing people into a bid one strategy anyway, so they're not getting through their deck nearly as fast.
So not necessarily. No, actually,
I know.
You're right. It is necessarily, because if they, one of the problems with this is if they're running low on cards, especially with the conflict deck, they can literally see how low they're getting, and then they can just switch to bid one, and then God, maybe. Yeah. So obviously we know the rotation is due to come up in a bit. Speculation about Core 2.0 is rampant, which is actually kind of funny because the 2.0 thing comes from Netrunner, so really it should just be, I don't know, what's 2, yeah. or some Alpha Ori Rokugani style thing, double bamboo, twice the bamboo,
yeah.
But maybe they need to look at something more. Like if it was a 10-point honor hit when you got rid of the deck, or something crazy like that, that could change it. But you have to fundamentally go back to the core rules and how they're addressing mill, how they're addressing you've run out of deck. And until they do that, all these cards are trash.
But the thing is, even if that's even if they do that, even if they effectively make it like if you run out of a deck, you lose the game, it's still an awful win condition. Like it's the same problem that people had with kind of mono blue in Magic, is that you have a deck that fundamentally sits there doing nothing positive for the entire game. It's just they're just going defend, no, denial, and just passively grinds you down until it just wins the game.
Slowly destroy your soul, one card at a time.
Yeah. But it's like either you smash their provinces and kill them fast, or you don't, and you just it's like it's just again like it's the kind of archetype that encourages people to find the most negative, least kind of intrepid way of playing the game possible, and then just sitting there and doing that for 45 minutes or 50 minutes.
Yeah. So to be kind of harsh, this type of card makes me feel that either whoever originated doesn't fully grasp the game, or was just putting this in as a filler card because they knew it wasn't really going to have too much impact. But
they keep on putting in these cards.
Yeah, but I mean, it looks like someone went to the effort of trying to design a card and thinks there might be an endgame strategy, but obviously isn't. So, on paper, it looks like a legitimate card that feels like it should be fine. But as players of the game, we know it's trash. Anyway.
Yeah.
Let's move along.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, there are ways that you could design cards to support this kind of theme, like where you put cards in your opponent's discard pile and you do certain things if there's a certain amount of events in them, or a certain amount of attachments, or a certain amount is this, or you can play stuff, which is all, which isn't a feel good for your opponent. But, you can design cards that to make kind of discarding much more interesting and much more decision oriented. For your opponent. Like, you can have cards like, your opponent gets to choose 2 events, and one of those gets removed from the game, and you get to play one of them. So they're always playing the worst of 2 events. But, I don't know. I mean, absolutely. Like, sorry, Awesome Coyote says, can't wait until Baz and Justin lose to this kind of deck. And I'm sure that that may happen. God, I hope not.
It's a Scorpion deck. I lose to Scorpion decks all the time, so,
Yeah. But again, we've said...
There is a card that does interact with that. So we've seen Illustrious Plagiarist. So that's one where you can do that. But that's it. Like, that, as far as I'm aware, that's the only card that we've seen that actually interacts with your opponent's discard pile.
Yeah. I mean, we've kind of half-joked about this before. Not really, sort of. But a lot of the card design in this game, honest to God, looks like it comes from the late 90s. It's like, revised edition Magic sort of card design. Like, you've got your Millstone deck. Here it is. You've got your boundless numbers of counterspells and mana drains and whatnot for your mono blue deck.
Whereas
you know,
the core rules are like super
are
modern,
super
refined
modern,
design. Yeah,
super modern. Absolutely, like the core rules are a work of like I love them. I love the core rule design for this
yeah,
game.
yeah.
It's it's like innovative. It's elegant. Like like it's pretty crunchy in terms of the number of decision points that it forces. But it's just beautiful, and unfortunately, we kind of keep on getting cards like this layered on top of it. I dream of a day like if the card design could match the fundamental mechanical design of the game. Jesus Christ, how good would this game be?
So, I mean, the good news in that regard for us is that this card is inoffensive. It'll sit in a binder if it even deserves the honor of being put in a binder.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, this card never comes out of a binder because if it does, then.
But I mean,
something's gone
yeah.
wrong.
Well, I mean, we discussed a couple of the options there where you're talking about if you get X number of cards in your opponent's discard pile, you trigger an effect. So stuff like that is things that would work, but obviously they're doing it the wrong way around. You don't put in all of these discard effects and then put in a way to actually use them later. That's the flip of how you should be doing it.
Yeah, that's you've done it wrong. Yeah, no, absolutely.
And like the 5-point honor hit in the dishonor deck, whatever. I mean, people right now are more likely to Mia Satoshi themselves out than they are to fall prey to licensed quarter. Anyway, all right, let's.
Yeah. Anyway.
But this is inoffensive. I don't think it's going to see any play at all. But it's not.
Yeah.
It's not going to wreck any games. Like it just means that when we pay our money for this pack, it just maybe half the cards are useless, and then we move on with our lives. And that's fine. It's disappointing, but fine.
Yeah, but this is a discussion for a different time. But a card, the fact that a card is never going to see play, is not justification for designing a terrible card. It shouldn't be. But we see it. I mean, and actually, in fairness, like Five Rings and FFG card games in general are by far not the worst offenders in this regard. But we've seen it in plenty of games before. We've seen it a ton in old 5R, where there is a card that is just a terrible, terrible, terrible design, but it kind of gets through play test and everything else because it's never going to see play because it's too niche or too unreliable. But it's just an awful design anyway.
Yeah, and I suspect. Like, I do my 9 to 5, there's lots of corners I cut because I'm under pressure and I need to get things done. Yeah. And I assume that's the same case here, where you've got so many cards to get through. I'd say, like, God bless Tyler, I was listening to the Sixth Ring where he did an interview, and, he's talking about how he is basically doing Katrina's story lead job now. So as people are leaving, he is taking on more. I suspect he's helping out on some of the other games because with FFG that always seems to happen. So I know he's got experience on Destiny and he's got experience on Keyforge. So he's probably been helping out on those games too because that's the nature of the company.
Well, that's a failure by FFG then.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty bizarre.
Yeah, there's no way that any employee should be expected to be taking on that amount of stuff for a single property. It's just going to burn him out.
Hopefully not.
No, absolutely not. Like he does a good job. So,
but just not with licensed quarter. Moving on.
But if he's got that amount of work being piled onto him, then it's entirely understandable.
All right, next up we have we're still in the Dynasty. God, how do we do these long episodes every time? It's like we never learn. Yeah, a Unicorn Dynasty character.
We're only 1 hour in, Baz.
So this is Ide Ryoma. This is a 3-cost, 0 military, 4 political, 1 glory courtier cavalry character. Action: during a conflict in which this character is participating, choose a unicorn character and a non-unicorn character controlled by the same player. Bow one of those characters, then ready the other.
Yeah, I mean, he's awesome already because he's a 4-skill political character for 3. So he's already off to a good start, and the ability is super, super strong.
So this lets you play non-unicorn characters in your deck, and use those characters to straighten your big unicorn characters, or vice versa?
Yep.
Wow.
Super good.
Or if your opponent starts playing some unicorn conflict characters, then all of a sudden
punish them.
Yeah, straighten that 1/1/1 and bow their clan champion instead.
Yep. Again, so it's a slightly situational ability, but the fact is that he's a 4 political skill character for 3.
And cavalry. So you can...
Yeah. So you can... Well, I mean, you're not going to want cavalry reserves and everything. You're really not going to want to. But, yeah, I mean, if you're looking to build a unicorn deck that doesn't go the military Ra route and is, more balanced in its approach, then he's good. I like him. I like him a lot, actually.
So, I mean, any character with ready effects we've seen is fantastic. So, the Knitting Master was the big one from the core set. Dragon decks had real problems because if they got their Knitting Master turn 1, they tended to instantly win the game. If they didn't, they lost because we had no idea how to play if we didn't get Knitting Master and multiple weapons in hand turn 1. But yeah, that's not a case for today. So the Phoenix ended up getting the water acolyte of... No. What's the water character when the water ring is claimed? She can straighten?
Asakotsuki. Tsuki.
Nope.
I think nope. Scopes can straighten. Sorry. Prodigy. What are you talking?
Prodigy of the Waves. And
sorry, I was off on.
And then the Crab have their 4/2 Cooney Witch Hunter. Steadfast Witch Hunter. What else? Like any of the cards that are able to have straighten effects have been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. And as John points out, you can choose 2 unbowed characters and bow one of them. So if somebody is running a unicorn splash, then they get hyper punished.
Oh wow, cool. Bow one of those characters, then ready the other. It's a den. So you do the first part, and then you do the second part?
Yeah, so you bow one, and then if you can do the second part, you can, and if you can't, then you don't. And you can't, so you don't. But the first part went off.
Okay. So yeah, I mean that's a big thing. So we're going to get into another one later, but obviously we've got Mia Satoshi, we've got, Keeper Initiates.
Keeper Initiates?
Ooh, Keeper Initiates is a big one. So now, as soon as this character comes out, you can no longer have Keeper Initiates. You can no longer have your...
No. What I mean... Well, no. Because it has to be a unicorn character and a non-unicorn character.
No, so of course. Okay, yeah.
It only works, I mean, but if you've got Keeper Initiates, then that's super good. You can bow a Keeper Initiate to straighten one of your guys. And the thing is, like, the thing with this is that this, like, Ryoma has to be participating, but the characters you straighten or bow don't have to be participating. So you can attack with a character, then defend with Ryoma, use Ryoma's ability to straighten the character that you attacked with, and they'll be ready to go again. So he's just super good.
Yeah.
He's just super
good.
Now,
one of the things is the current Unicorn deck has a tendency to go for as many military conflicts as they can. So
so he's not for that. He's not for that deck.
Now, he might be, because you can't always make all the conflicts military. But yeah, so I mean, you could attack or defend in a political conflict and then use that to ready one of your other characters.
Probably Shono, because he'll have won and will be honoured and will be a giant monster.
But maybe, I mean, Shono kind of struggles to see play a lot of time, just because of other options.
Anyway, he's
pretty cool.
Yeah, like him a lot.
All right, next up. Hantai Daisetsu. So this is a 4-cost unique dynasty character with 3 military, 4 politics, 3 glory, courtier, imperial, crown prince, sincerity. So that means when he leaves play, you get one fate back.
No.
Right? Or the draw card?
No, sincerity is draw a card, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, right. Courtesy is the other one. Okay, so
courtesy is
draw a card. Okay. Action. During a political conflict in which this character is participating, choose a participating character until the end of the conflict. Treat that character as if its printed text box were blank, except for traits. So this is another Milk of the Poppy. This is another
Cloud the Mind
effects. Yeah. But this one, obviously, you have to get into the conflict. So it has to be a political conflict. It has to be in which you're participating. So, I mean, if you've got a strong action on one of your characters and you're declaring a political conflict against a defender who has Daisetsu, you're aware of what's going to happen. On the flip side, if you have Daisetsu, you declare your political conflict and you're attacking, your opponent still has the opportunity to use the ability first. So there's definite gaps in this. It is not as reliable as, for example, that Crab character we were talking about earlier.
The Master of Anatomies?
Yep.
Student of Anatomies.
But this is still solid. And then those stats are good. 3-4 on a courtier is massive. I was having a look through military strength on courtier characters purely because of the new Dragon Jewel. There's if you're not a Crane clan champion, you're not a courtier with more than 3 military. So Daisetsu looks pretty good. Not necessarily as good as Satori, I would say. I certainly find Satori a lot more self-contained, if that makes sense, and the ability is a lot stronger.
Yeah, Satori just is very, very direct, whereas, again, Daisetsu is a bit more situational.
Yeah.
But decent character. I think he's pretty decent. I don't think he's world breaking or anything like that, but he's fine.
All right. Moving on. Sharpen Tsuruhachi. Yeah, Sharpen Tsuruhachi. So this is a crab attachment. It is 0 cost, +1 military, +0 politics. It's a weapon. And it says, interrupt when attached character is sacrificed, return this character to your hand.
Card.
Sorry.
Card, not character.
Sorry, correct. So, obviously, the big one for me as a Dragon player is saying that this is a 0 cost attachment that is a weapon. So the Knitting Master, who was getting a lot of play out of... God, what was that card? It's been so long. The attachment that got put on the restricted list.
Pathfinder's Blade.
So this is very similar to Pathfinder's Blade in all but the actual effect.
in all but the fact that it's broken, which this is not.
Well, I mean, we've moved on. I mean, Pathfinder's Blade is still a viable card to play, but no one plays it. But yeah, for Knitting Master, for Dragon, it was the fact that primarily it was the fact that it was a 0 cost attachment. It was a big deal. Obviously. Yeah. This, interrupt when attached character is sacrificed, return this card to your hand. That is only going to be relevant for Crab. But that is super strong for Crab. Because it means you can attack with one character, say you're... what's that 2 cost, 2-1 that you can sacrifice to put fate on a character? Vanguard Warrior. We are down with the names today. You can drop this on your Vanguard Warrior, get a bunch of boosts for that conflict. Say you had 2 in hand, then you get to sacrifice him, it comes back to hand, and you get to play it again next turn. That is solid. I know it's only like a +1, which essentially is the Seal of the Crab is basically a 0 cost +1/+0. But the Ancestral trait on a 0 cost effect, which is kind of what this is, in the specific circumstance where you're sacrificing, is pretty good.
Yeah, I think this card is actually pretty bad. I don't like it much at all. It's notable that it's a non-restricted weapon. So that's, again, when you're talking about the Knitting Master, that's great for the Knitting Master because it's just more weapons you can keep on piling onto him, making it bigger and bigger. But the effect itself, I mean, recursion is pretty neat, but all you're recursing is a 0 cost +1/+0 weapon, and that is not powerful at all. The card is super low impact. The value you get out of it from recursing it continuously is not big at all. I just don't think it's good.
Okay. I have to...
I just think they're
Better things to do.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm surprised it's not restricted.
Yeah, I mean, if it was restricted, I think it would be complete garbage, like absolute utter garbage.
Yeah.
Like the fact that it's non-restricted is just that kind of one little glimmer of, oh, this can do something a little unusual that most other cards can't. That is, yeah, but it's just the card, the power level of the card is so low that I think it will really struggle to see play when you take a look at the power level of the stuff that makes it into competitive decks.
Yeah. It is very low impact. Like when if you drew this card in the middle of conflict, it's not going to make much of a difference in that particular combat.
You'd be displeased. Yeah.
Alrighty. But yeah, this like a card like this might be enough to take Dragon and push away all of the other restricted cards, and instead take out their restricted Knitting Master, slap them in a deck,
possibly
and try it out.
Yeah.
So that
could make Knitting Master relevant again. I mean, in fairness, like I think at this stage, Knitting Master should probably come off the restricted list. I mean, I get why he was still there, but Dragon are so poor at the moment that they need help.
True. And they should definitely take Mirumoto's Fury off the restricted list.
No, they should never. No, not ever. Not ever. Okay, next card.
Issue a challenge. This is a Crane event. It is 0 cost. Reaction. After a Bushi character you control attacks alone, your opponent cannot declare more than one character as a defender in this conflict. So I find this one really interesting because Dragon have a card that already has this effect that never sees play. So in the base set, Dragon got the Mirumoto Prodigy, which is a 2-cost 2/2 with 1 glory, Bushi Duelist. While this character is attacking alone, your opponent cannot declare more than one defender. And that card was considered crazy busted when the initial previews came out because it was 3 military. And we thought that was really good. And they toned that down, obviously, while they were testing it, possibly in reaction to some of the outraged voices, and that card has never seen play since. So, what can you do with this? After a Bushi character you control attacks alone, you're not stuck with a 2/2 for 2, which can get assassinated. Instead, you can attack with your biggest tooled up dueling monster, and your opponent cannot declare more than one character as a defender in its conflict. This also combos really nicely for Creme, because, again, in the base set, they also have a... God, what's it called? It's an event.
Admit defeat.
Admit defeat.
Admit defeat.
So is it a 1 cost?
Yeah. 1 cost, yeah, 1 cost event. If there's only one defender, you bow them. So I think Admit Defeat and Doji Kawanin are the two big winners with this card. So Kawanin will issue a challenge, go across, and just bow whatever chump, whatever pencil-necked geek you happen to throw in his way. So,
and if that's on the stronghold, if you manage to get them down to the last province,
yeah, that's pretty scary, right?
GG.
Yeah.
So I really like this card. I think this is a really solid, strong card.
I think it's interesting. I don't like the fact that you're using a card to set up another card quite as much. But again, situationally, oh god.
Yeah. This
card is tremendously powerful. Now, it doesn't stop characters from moving in or being played into the conflict. Sure. So favorable ground is still going to move someone in. You're still going to have conflict characters coming down potentially, but
it is almost a super covert.
Yeah, it is almost a super covert. You get one defender, make it a good one, and then Kawanin's gonna,
smack them,
just rock bottom them anyway. Yeah, he's gonna lay the smacketh down, no matter what. So, yeah, I'm interested to see if this sees play. For sure. I think it's got the possibility of seeing play.
And I mean, as we were saying earlier, with the Crane deck, we're seeing a lot of 1s and 2s. This might be a case where you just put 1 in your deck, and then once you've got your board set up and you're going in on that big crucial attack, you get to play this, and it could win you the game over it. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I like it.
Yep.
All right. Next up is Rising Stars Kata. This is a 0-cost event. It is a technique for Dragon Clan. Action. During a conflict, choose a participating unique character. That character gets +3 military until the end of the conflict, +5 military instead if that character has won a duel this conflict. Max 1 per conflict. So this is kind of a bonsai for unique characters only, but without the honor loss and only 3 military instead of 4. So still max 1 per conflict.
It's going to be 5.
It can be 5, but often
it can be 5.
Often you want to.
I know. Often you play the Banzai to set up the duel as opposed to.
So that's the struggle here. But it can go the other way, and there are some soft duels that you can set up where you both know no one really cares. So typically everyone bids 1, and then there's a nice handshake because nothing actually happened in the duel. You're blanking a blank,
and then you're like, ha +5 military.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Of note, this is a bonsai that can be played during a political conflict. So we've often seen military boosts limited to military conflicts, which isn't necessarily something that you're looking for, because often, especially in dueling decks, you're looking to set up a duel to do something else. So it's frustrating when you can't get your +4 from a bonsai because you're sitting in a political conflict. Yeah. And, obviously standing up in the middle of court and yelling bonsai might get you in some sort of trouble. Or at least there'll be a stern online thread complaining about your improper behavior. But there's nothing necessarily wrong with it. From a mechanical point of view, it's whatever. You've just got +X skill in something that no one cared about. So I'm delighted to see that Rising Stars Kata has that option. It arguably could replace bonsai in a dragon deck, because you don't have to worry about the honor loss, but then you're limiting yourself to just unique characters, which can be a bit of a struggle. Or you can Rising Stars Kata and bonsai in the same conflict because you can do one of each. Then you have, if you're playing the monk deck, you've also got your Hurricane Punch, and maybe this is
Void Fist.
Yeah, maybe this is a sort of card that lets you play a bunch, because I know we're looking forward to the Dragon Pack, where a lot of the cards are kind of focused on play 5 cards, or your Void Fist is play 2, but we're starting to see more and more cards which are do a bunch of kung fu moves, build up to a big whammy, and a free card like this might be something that does it. So yeah, I'm not sure about Rising Stars Kata. I kind of feel like it'll be one of those cards that I put in and then take out of a deck, because it might be just kind of pushing it out into the 45th slot, if that makes sense. But I like it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, for me, as someone looking in on the dragon from the outside, I get the impression that this is a card that people will put in, then they'll be slightly disappointed that it isn't quite as 100% efficient as Banzai in the usual circumstances, so it'll get taken out, and then over time it will make itself a staple and it will replace Banzai because it's very, very flexible and it offers more. So I think in the long term this is actually for me anyway, this is a card that will replace Banzai in the long term for Dragon.
Well, fingers crossed. We'll try it out and see where it goes. Alright, next up we have Regal Bearing. Oh, this is a fun one. So this is a lion event. It is 1 cost. Action. During a political conflict in which you control a participating courier character, set the bid on your honor dial to 1 and draw cards equal to the difference between your honor bid and that of your opponent. Max 1 per conflict. So, what do you think of this?
Well, this is a super interesting card. This is a card that this might be the first card that we've seen that effectively punishes the bid 5, like super effectively punishes the bid 5 meta. But the thing is, so at the start of the turn, you both bid 5, you draw 5, your opponent draws 5. And then during your political conflict, you play your Regal Bearing, and for the cost of 1 card and a fate, you draw an additional 4 cards. That's crazy. And plus it automatically sets your honor dial to being lower than your opponent's. So there are other effects that can potentially key off that. So this card is, again, like I'd put this card potentially in the same class as the Student of Anatomies, as a potentially, a card that could arguably see play in all, or in almost all, Lion decks. The courtier requirement puts a bit of an additional burden on, like a bit more of an opportunity cost on this, but Lion are not short for quality courtiers these days either.
True.
So yeah, like this card's incredible. It's unbelievably good.
I'm gonna flick back quickly at the cards we've seen, because I haven't been talking about the influence costs. So there've been 2 influence costs on the previous cards that are splashable. This is a 3 influence cost. But the effect is massive, and obviously, other clans can do courtier and political a lot better. So specifically, Scorpion and Crane, arguably Phoenix, hell, even like Dragon are talking about courtiers these days. Is this something that we'll see play in other decks? I mean, drawing 4 cards is a pretty big deal. So you're cycling 1 and then drawing 3. But, getting that off twice, and inconceivably you could get that off turn 1, where you play the first one in their political conflict and the second one in your political conflict. You're all of a sudden up 8, and then you're slamming bids back down to 1 for the rest of the game. And, I mean, that could be game over at that point.
Yeah, 100%. The card's amazing. It's 100% good enough to see play in multiple, like it's good enough to see play in splashes even at 3 influence cost. And a lot of decks, this might be their entire splash, and it would be well worth it. It's kind of like generally at a Lion we expect cards like gain honor, gain some force, do something kind of conflict oriented or military oriented, but this is something that every clan can take advantage of potentially. All you've got, you have to be able to play courtiers, or you have to have courtiers in your deck, and a significant number, like enough to make this worthwhile. But possibly, is this the best card in the pack? I think it might be.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, it looks really great. Obviously, there's a couple of challenges. It means that Hida is even better, right?
Hida isn't like.
He's always been one of my favorites, but Hida has been a bit controversial within the line because sometimes he works, sometimes he doesn't. This is
you were supposed to be the chosen one. But like it's amazing. It's amazing. It's a 5-star card. Let's just.
Yep. All right.
Let's prepare to get our asses beaten by this card and move on with our lives.
All right. Next up, we have Invoke the Divine. So this is a Phoenix event. It is 3 cost. Action, play up to 3 spell cards with total printed cost 5 or less from your hand without paying their costs. This includes costs from other than fate costs. So I asked John ahead of this what the hell this meant, and he gave me a reading assignment of the Mirror's Gaze, which is a terrifying thing to be told. So the key part of this, so obviously fate is a cost, and then broadly anything that happens before the dash that isn't a choice or a target would constitute a cost, maybe. So this, for example, you can use your Against the Waves with this. You'll ignore the 1 cost for the fate, even though the targeting the Shigenja happens before the dash, and you straighten the Shigenja, you're still able to do that because you're ignoring the cost, but you're not ignoring the target part, if that makes sense. But that, going through all of the cards, I have to admit, I didn't find a great number of spells where that was really, really relevant. Like the Benton's Touch, I think was one of the few ones that kind of struck home to me because you don't have to bow your Shigenja, and obviously, 5 fires is 5 costs, so spending 3 and doing this and then against waves and a Benton's Touch is good. But yeah, what do you think, Justin?
Well, you couldn't do 5 fires and against the waves because that would cost you 6.
Yep, true.
But yeah, I don't like this card at all. So like the dream, like as you said, like Benton's Touch is one of the more, again, like, it's one of the cards that benefits most from this, but Benton's Touch barely makes it in. Like it sometimes sees play as a one-of in some Phoenix decks. So you've got Consumed. Like Consumed is the obvious dream, so you can just play your Consumed for 3, but then you've got a card, so you're playing 3 Fate and a card to play your Consumed for free, but you are also having to invest a slot in your deck into Invoke the Divine, which is a card that does nothing, probably, or nothing of any worth, unless you hit your Consumed by 5 fires, and
it does.
Like I don't think there.
It does.
Yeah, I
let you play 4 cards all at once.
Yeah, I mean, and if there were spells that actually really genuinely benefited from being played, at the same time or like within the same kind of window sequentially, then that would be amazing. But there really aren't. So I think this card is garbage. It's it's the kind of card that could be completely broken if the right spells come out.
And that.
But for the time being,
after I did my reading homework as I was required to, I realized that this card isn't very good right now. But if they print a 20 Fate card that is win the game, then Invoked the Divine is busted. If they start printing cards with a...
Well, no, you can't do that because it has to cost 5 or less.
True, sorry.
That 20 Fate card.
Destroy, 20... sacrifice 20 Fate worth of characters, for example. So something that will actually make this work. Then Invoke the Divine becomes busted because you're all of a sudden ignoring all of those costs. But
that's never going to get through playtest because Invoke the Divine exists.
Yes. So why even bother? Why print Invoke the Divine when right now there's nothing that it actually really impacts, and then because it's printed, you're never going to make anything that will actually be playable because of it.
I don't know.
Again, like on first blush, it looks like a fantastic card. It says all the things that we like. It is Fate reduction. Arguably, it's a bit of tempo compression, even though that's not really a thing in this game. The art is amazing. I love the art.
Yeah, the art's super. Yeah, and I mean, it's a 3-cost event that could get countered. You're going to feel terribly sad. I don't know. It's very, very bad card. We should move on.
Yeah, and the quote's amazing too. It's, someone's about to get their ass kicked. So no longer will your disrespect go ignored either by me or the kami of this place. And then there's a can of whoop-ass about to be opened. But there's not, because that card hasn't been printed yet. Alright, moving along. So, next up we have Unspoken Etiquette. This is a Scorpion event. It is 2 cost. Action during a political conflict. Dishonor each participating non-courtier character. And this is 1 influence. When I first looked at this, I was like, oh my god, you get to dishonor like 100 characters. That's absolutely amazing. And then we realized that, there's normally only 2 or 3 characters in a conflict anyway. When you're playing against Scorpion, half of them are dishonored already anyway. And your courtiers are immune to it. And it's 2 cost.
Yeah, it is a card that flatters to deceive very much. Like it, there is that kind of that brief flutter, that catch of breath when you first read it and think this card is going to destroy everything, and then you just no, you think about it and realize that it's in some situations, yes, it is going to destroy everything, but then for the most of the game, it's going to be terrible. I mean, it's potentially really, really good against certain clans when they attack your stronghold. Just dishonor their entire board, but
they'd have to be attacking against Scorpion in a political conflict.
Yeah, which doesn't seem very likely. It seems like they'd be attacking you militarily. So, I don't know.
So
do you put rally to the cause on your stronghold just so you can flip this to political, so you can flip things to political, and then Unspoken Etiquette and Dishonor bomb them out of the game? I've no idea.
And then hope they don't take your province.
Because
that would be bad.
It would.
Yeah, I mean, and it's one influence, so in theory you could splash it into something else. Yeah, I don't know. As I said, it looked pretty exciting. I mean, even if it was 0 cost, it would probably be good.
It would be bad. Like it would be good. It would be the bad kind of good, though.
Okay, yeah. So,
but like I could totally see this card featuring in Isawa Marisado. Like, because you've got Thingamy, what's it, Kuroi Mori. So you got that under your stronghold, turning every conflict into political or military, should you desire. And then Unspoken Etiquette just to dishonor all their board. And then the strongholds to make them feel the pain even more. So you could go Unspoken Etiquette, backhanded compliments in a Phoenix deck. I don't know.
Could be.
Keeper of Air looking better and better.
Interesting. All right. Yes. Next up, we have, I hate when they're sideways, Natural Negotiator. This is a unicorn attachment. It is 0 cost, +0/+0, technique, attached to a courtier character you control. Action, during a conflict, give your opponent 1 honor. Switch the attached character's base military and political skills until the end of the conflict. So, presumably, you take that 0/3 character we were looking at earlier, switch them over to be a 3/0 because you can.
Oh, the 0/4 to a 4/0.
So, and it's 1 influence. So in theory, you could splash it into anything. So if wanted, you could put this into a dedicated courier deck, and this would allow those courier decks to suddenly switch over to military. Drop the beats.
Yeah, it would already have to be a dedicated military courtier deck, though, because you're giving your opponent honor, so you sure as hell aren't dishonoring them.
That's true.
So,
Courtier military... Conquest, sorry. We should say Conquest rather than military.
Conquest, yeah. So this strikes me as just a jank card that is bad.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, again, it's that horrible word again, like situational. But the thing is, like, there are a lot of opportunity costs for this card. That
in a dragon deck, I can attach it along with that new Justicar's approach. So I can switch the political and military skill. But then I'm giving honor. Why am I giving honor? For dishonoring people out with that deck. Yeah, okay. It's interesting, at least.
It is. I mean, and actually, as John points out, is this going to pump you more than a Katana or Fan would? And the chances are it isn't.
Yep, that's fair.
And you've given your opponent an honor.
All right.
So, terrible. Let's move on.
I'm not going to say it's terrible, but yeah, let's move on.
I think it's terrible.
Oh, man, there's an honor deck just waiting to happen.
Like, no, it's not. It's the kind of card you're going to draw this card in a game, and it's going to physically hurt. It's just going to take the wind out of you.
Whoa, hold on.
It's terrible.
Isn't there a unicorn character that when your opponent gains honor, they can straighten? One of the Otaku Battle Maidens?
We don't play bad cards to reinforce other bad cards, Baz.
We're not supposed to, Justin. but sometimes
We're not supposed
sometimes
to.
we do.
No, absolutely. I mean, potentially that is a synergy. Um, so
Ooh,
yeah.
flick through as you try to find out which
Yeah.
otaku it is.
Move.
But I'm pretty sure she's a bushi because all of the battle maidens are bushi.
She is. She's a 3/1 honor. She's a 3/1.
She had Tomi heroine. Yeah, 3 cost, 3/1, 2
go.
glory, bushi cavalry battle maiden. After an opponent gains 1 or more honor from a card effect, ready this character. But yeah, it's a card you're never going to put this on. Your battle maiden deck isn't going to have courtiers, so you can. Yeah. Okay. All right. Jank.
Yeah.
Jank it is.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have Over Here. So this is a 1-cost neutral card. Action. During a political conflict, your opponent reveals a random card from his or her hand and puts it on top of his or her conflict deck. If you control a participating courier character, you may give your opponent 1 honor to resolve this ability twice. This seems good.
Yeah. It's pretty good, all right.
So you lose 1 fate and a card. They gain 1 honor, and then they end up putting 2 of their cards on top of their deck, which is basically a discard. But you know what they're going to draw.
I think knowing what they're going to draw is fairly pointless. Yeah, I'm not whelmed either way. I'm neither under nor overwhelmed by this card. So okay, it's discard for start, and
random discard at that.
And random discard. So it's already kind of a bad start. Discard isn't a lot of fun, but it's part of the game. So we'll get on with it. Okay, so as you said, it's costing you a card, it's costing you a fate. You're discarding a card from your opponent's hand randomly. That is a super bad deal.
Yeah.
Terrible deal. So the only situation you're really considering is if you can do this twice. So you are then giving your opponent an honor. With that honor, your opponent can bid high for the next turn to draw more cards, basically draw the cards back up again. Basically you're entering into you're in a neutral state. Though this card is costing you a fate, unless you're in a position where you are also drawing 5 cards, because that's the only situation where you are actually benefiting potentially from this. Because if you're drawing a ton of cards and hang on, I'll just order my thoughts again as they've.
So yeah, let me talk for a second. So if you draw 2 of these on turn 1, you're able to play this twice. You spend 2 fate, which is a bit of a crunch. You've got rid of 4 of your opponent's cards, which is pretty cool. Say you've both drawn 5, so you both start at 9, they're down to 5, and you're down to 7. So you're only ahead by 2. They're now up 2 honor. And they use that honor to draw the cards again. Yeah, because really when you're doing card destruction, your card denial, you really want to kind of lock them down into limited card draw. So you want to do the dishonor effect.
Yep.
But because they're able to draw, or because they're able to get honor, they're able to get that later. And because you have this in hand, when they attack in their military conflicts, it's useless. In that conflict that you're playing, it's not improving your board. It's not helping you take provinces or win conflicts. It's merely randomly discarding cards they have. So you're removing some of the potential they have. God, I was excited about this card, but the more I talk about it, the more underwhelmed I am by it. I really love the idea of card discard. I love locking down your opponent's hand, controlling things, trying to get them to 0 cards while you retain. If you can get that situation where you've got 4 or 5 cards in hand and they've got 0, you can often just win games over it. But this doesn't quite do it for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's spies. It's a slightly worse spy. Taken in isolation, it's a worse spies at court.
But you can do it without winning the conflict, which is something.
Yes, you can. But I suppose the thing is, what you have to do is you have to look at the archetype with potentially both those cards. And if that's even a good idea.
And this is a neutral card for courtiers, but courtiers are pretty strong in Creme, and Creme do have an attachment. So it's the 1 cost plus 2 political that they can discard.
Yeah.
Letter
To force
letter
an
from the
opponent.
daimyo.
Yeah.
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 Uh,
Force your opponent to just choose and discard 2 cards, I think.
Yeah, so reaction after the attached character wins a political conflict, so you have to win it, sacrifices attachment, your opponent chooses and discards 2 cards from his or her hand. So, with all of those cards combined, you could really hammer into someone's hand, because every time you're playing one of those, you're discarding 2 of your opponents.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. But then you have it if you're playing Overhears and Spies at Court and Letters to the Daimyo, like a quarter of your deck is taken up with cards that discard cards from your opponent's hand, but do not do anything to help you win the conflict. So it's So I don't know. Like it's a super negative way to approach the game, but valid, I suppose.
Yep. I mean, we like winning. Winning is good.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things. Like it's like individually over here is not a particularly good card. In concert with other cards that discard cards, there could be a deck there, but at the same time, I would be concerned about consistency because, like I said, you are sacrificing a quarter of your deck to cards that discard your opponent's hand. And then you have to turn that, so basically, if you're doing that, you also have to be in a position where you have to make that count. So either you are a super fast tempo deck, in which case you're not spending a quarter of your deck on cards that discard other people's cards, because that is not how you win through tempo. Or you are a dishonor control deck, in which case you are bidding 1 the whole time. And at a certain point, you are going to start drawing cards. When you are bidding 1, you are going to start drawing Overhears and Spies at Court, and you are effectively drawing nothing, because those cards are now useless because your opponent has 1 card in hand for the entire time. So, yeah, I'm meh, kind of fairly meh on this whole thing. The discard aspect of it. But the card is the card is a disruption card. If it's anything, it's a disruption card. You are sacrificing some resources to basically force your opponent to discard 2 cards randomly during a conflict, which might have an impact on the outcome of that conflict. So it's kind of like a shot in the dark, really, is what you're pinning your hopes to with this card, which doesn't speak strongly to its power level. So I would give this a negative review. I don't think this is a very good card.
All right.
As good as it looks initially, I don't think it's actually all that great. Once you actually
that is the set overall, or the pack overall. So Regal Bearing obviously was a one we had some interest in.
Student of Anatomies was amazing. After that,
there's potential in there. There's definitely potential. So yeah.
Emperor's Summons is a potential superstar card as well. But we'll have to see with that.
So Student of Anatomies.
After that, Ryoma was pretty decent. So Ide Ryoma was pretty decent. Ikoma Kiyono was pretty decent. Issue a challenge potentially, but no. Compared, I think this is probably the weakest pack so far that we've had in this cycle in terms of quality playable cards in it.
I think I'm happy with all the dragon cards. I think all the dragon cards will see play. That doesn't necessarily say anything though for dragon.
No, indeed. Well, I don't know. Crab. Yeah. So what? Crab gets Student of Anatomies, which is amazing. The other 2 cards won't see play right now. The Sharpened, whatever it's. Tsuruhachi. Yeah, the Sharpened Tsuruhachi may never see play. Crane, Graceful Guardian, decent. Iron Crane, probably not as good as it looks. Issue a challenge, could be surprisingly effective. You like the Dragon guys, super good. Lion do very, very well, but then Lion probably desperately, Lion are still
they're about to get the Lion pack. That's going to be a big influence cards, and it certainly seems like there's been a push in the quality of cards they're getting. It'll be interesting to see where they go. The greater emphasis on courtiers. Oh well, actually, even looking at the courtiers, getting a courtier into the conflict isn't necessarily too hard when they're consistently making the Lions Pride Brawler. You know, I occasionally forget that those are there.
Yeah.
I love the Righteous Delegate. Scorpion getting nothing.
Yeah, like I do like the Righteous Delegate. The other two Phoenix cards, not so much. Scorpion, yeah, absolutely get the shaft, but they are the strongest clan at the moment, so that's probably fair. Unicorn get the Ide, get Ide Ryoma.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And
I think
Daisetsu is grand. I think he's grand. Not as good as his brother, in card game terms at least, but grand. Yeah, there we go. It's a fairly meh kind of pack, to be honest, with a couple of outstanding cards. But that's fine. Not every pack can be incredible. So,
and I think there's enough cards in there for it to, for most clans to be worth buying at least.
Well, I mean, and the thing is as well, I mean, like this pack is 100% going to shake up the environment, 100%. Like Regal Bearing on its own is probably going to send a few shockwaves through a lot of archetypes, and yeah, the student is going to make an impact as well, for definites. So, yeah.
Don't Scorpion have? They can start playing a card that does the difference. So everyone bids 5, then they Regal Bearing to draw a bunch of cards, and then they start dropping that that plus X or minus X card where the X is the difference.
Oh, potentially, yeah. Create an opening.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right. We'll
Could
see.
be.
We'll see. All right, I think that's all we have for today, unless there's anything else to cover, or if there's anything the chat would like to address.
So let's see.
While we give them a chance to catch up on that, the most recently announced event is the Brazil Championships, which is absolutely awesome to see. So they're going to be in Sao Paulo. And tickets haven't gone on sale yet, but we do have a link up on Imperial Advisor under the meta checks. So we have a section at the end of that where we've got all of the events that are due to come, and there is a link to the page for Asmodee Galapagos Yogos, where these events are happening, where the tickets will eventually be on sale. So if you're down that direction, or fancy a change of scenery, definitely check that out.
Yeah. Okay, so in the chat we've got Kodo Aishma saying, I think we might be underestimating the potential of over here. That's definitely possible. I'm just not quite sure where the card fits in to be super, super effective right now.
Because I have to admit, I was really hyped on a letter from the Daimyo.
As was I.
And it hasn't seen any play as far as I've seen.
Likewise.
Now, similarly, they do actually have that Creme character, the 3-cost 2/3 courtier samurai. When they're honored, it's not even when they're honored. When they're attacking alone or defending alone, when they're in a conflict alone, discard a card, and it's your opponent discards a card, and it's random if they're honored. That is seeing play, so that is hitting decks. I guess that's a card that you could, if you're already triggering that, throwing in over here, which will trigger off the courtier effect or the courtier trait, you can go to town with that. Yeah.
So Awesome as Coyote is saying, I think over here is busted in the right deck. It's not a card for every deck or player. Again, absolutely possible. So we will have to wait and see. So Awesome as Coyote also asks, are we going to Worlds?
No.
Well, no. Very, very far away and very expensive to get to. Or Madrid. So are we going to Madrid, Baz?
No Madrid.
Oh, okay, no Madrid. So sad face all round.
See, we're we spend so much time looking through all these cards, and then some of us have been going out judging events that I haven't played in a tournament since Cork. So the last tournament I played was at the start of the year. Like, we've played some local tournaments here that are small things, and I've been getting a lot of games in on Sundays. But I do not have what it takes to play a big tournament at the moment. Have not been in practice, have not been putting the work in like I should.
And Dragon are crap as well, so the the motivation to put the work in is.
Did you not see how well my deck performed on the Krakow stream? It was up against Chargeburg Phoenix, and it brought it down to the wire. Was it? No, sorry. It was the Crane deck. It was the version of the Crane deck that came in second at Gen Con, and it just went down to the wire. It barely lost, but if Jakob had drawn one of the cards that I hadn't put into it, that he might have actually won that game.
Oh,
yeah. So my really terrible Bushi dragon deck that was highly experimental got played by Jakob on one of the streams, and he did some master work. I think he spent like 4 turns holding off an attack, just desperately trying to draw into a Let Go, which wasn't into the deck, or a Mirumoto's Daisho, which wasn't in the deck, or...
Oh my god.
Yeah, so one of the things that I do when I'm testing my decks is I'll take out all of the cards that you definitely should play, because if you play all the cards that you definitely should play, there's no room for any of the other cards. So yeah, this was my Line Splash, Sashimono-focused Bushi dragon deck, which is a lot of fun to play, but isn't going to be winning any tournaments anytime soon. But yeah, all credit to Jakob for actually, doing so well as he did. So I need to build some real decks. So yeah, probably no tournaments for me until next time Ireland gets a big event. We'll see how it goes then. I might look at maybe doing some traveling next year. Like, all of the traveling we've been doing has been to help out the Asmodee Europe team with the judging, because obviously John is one of the more experienced judges over here and helps them out a lot, and occasionally I tag along and help out. But yeah, maybe next year we might look at playing some games instead of judging and see how that goes.
All right. Well, will we call it there? We've been up for about 2 hours.
2 hours. We're at least consistent. Yeah. All right. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll be back in roughly 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. There's not a huge amount going on at the moment, but there might be another pack for us to review or something like that. Or
there'll be another pack. I'm going to get the article for the previous pack up in the next day or two, and we'll start working on the write-up for the one we've just reviewed in this video. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah. Okay, good night, everybody. Thanks for listening. Take it easy.